real quick before we start this video, a lot of you guys have been asking for team shirts. Finally, Autohaus has t-shirts, so it would really help out a lot if you supported the shop, got some merch, some shirts, stickers, support the media work, support me and my dog. Check out that merch store so I don't starve you guys.
That was pretty good for me just guessing at the fuel table, I gotta say. Tuning with a stationary car, this car hasn't moved.
This has been day 2, but a very long first and second day 2, many hours into this already to just get this thing to start.
And I've been tired every time because it's always been a Friday night. It's now 11 o'clock.
Alright, so Grant, day 2 of tuning, what have we been doing here?
Well, we were starting this from scratch, right? Because this engine hasn't been run at all in this car before.
Correct.
So we have taken an out-of-the-box link ECU and set up all the parameters that will run beams. Luckily, there's some settings that the link already has for the beams. There's some things like the cam angle pickup that was already in there, but a lot of it still had to be done from scratch. We had issues with it idling because of a trigger threshold that we needed to adjust on the cam angle sensor, but they got that set up. Wasted pretty good amount of time trying to get this thing to idle, not realizing that the fuel pump wasn't being turned on, right?
That's right.
So the car would start, and it would run, and I'd be like, it would keep dying out. I'd see it on the wideband, it was getting lean. I'd be like trying to add fuel frantically. I'm like, why is this not sticking? And then, I think you noticed the fuel pressure was dropping after I'd start the car.
Yeah, unfortunately. The good side effect of working on this, the customer bought us pizza. The bad side effect, the pizza distracted us from monitoring the car while trying to start it.
I mean, yeah, we've been doing this late nights on 2 Fridays, so it's understandable. But yeah, once we got the output set up, and I just had a very rough fuel table they put in, just kind of from experience. It pretty much started and idled after that. We did have to set up the idle air control valve strategy. Idle air control valve we set up. Fuel map, I put a rough one in just from experience. Ignition map, same thing. We tried setting up the TAC, but that still doesn't seem to be working, unfortunately. Sorry, man, I tried, but I couldn't get the thing to go. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys aren't familiar, all these old Toyotas are used to running the TAC directly off of the coil. This car has coil packs, and so there's a very low voltage signal that gets sent back out. So you have to do some funky things like add resistors to the TAC or use a TAC adapter, but still need to get that set up before we can get the TAC working. We do have the coolant fan working, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, once it hits 90 Celsius, the fan will kick on. Yeah, our objective was to get it running and driving so that he can take it to the tuner and they can put it on the rolling road and get the rest of the map set up. But yeah, I'm pretty happy that we got it started and running and idling.
Yeah, once again, I really appreciate it because I know you're very skilled at this, long history of doing this, but you don't offer this as a service, so I really appreciate it again.
Well, you know, John's a very special customer, so we'll make exceptions, won't we? It also helps when you send us pizza.
Pizza? Oh, you know my weakness.
Yeah. I was telling Ezekiel offline, I was like, dude, I'll do literally almost anything for pizza.
We'll let Grant finish up here, and then we'll go out to the engine bay, and we'll talk over some details. Despite working together, I don't think I've ever had a real chance to sit down with Grant and talk things over out here. So let's watch him pick apart my work.
Pick apart? What do you mean? This is great.
What's notable for you here?
Well, actually, I think the most notable thing is what you don't actually see, because you were explaining that even with all the solutions that have been created for the beams over the years, it's still quite custom to get this running, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, no kidding, absolutely. I mean, just off the top of my head, like, there's no real documented way to convert this to a return system. The fuel. Yeah. Converting returnless, which the beams comes with, to a return type system. No one's documented what radiator hoses you're supposed to use. Even I talked about in the last video, properly grounding the engine to the chassis to the engine. No one's documented that. Absolutely important, because that totally screwed me wiring up this engine. I mean, even simple stuff like what intake do I run, right? If we were on factory computer and there was a MAF there, this would be even more of a nightmare.
Yeah, so I mean, kudos to Nick Isios that figured this out, what, like 8 years ago or something? 10 years ago? Just from scratch, basically? Maybe just from a Billzilla website and a couple forum posts?
I can't imagine, people who did this when these were not popular, when there was no bolt-on stuff for this.
Yeah, and even then, there's still a lot to dial in. Yeah. So, yeah, not the easiest of swaps. I'm a lot more familiar with 20 valve swaps, and that's like dead simple in comparison.
my favorite piece is the beam swap radiator, which
Yeah, we sell that. Yeah, you can buy this through Battle Garage.
so one thing I really like about this radiator, it fits in the OEM spot. It converts both of these outlets to the same side as the beam's engine. Also, the owner of this car wanted to run an aftermarket water temp sensor, and from factory it comes with a 1/8 NPT bung to run whatever you want off of it. So that was great because I don't want to cut this hose, I don't want to drill into this, I don't want to weld extra stuff. There was already a provision for me right there.
Yeah, we do also have, this is not it, this is different companies, but we also have a fan shroud option to get a Mishimoto fan to work with this, and so it fully covers the entire radiator.
That's right, dual fan, right?
Yeah,
dual E fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? Because one of the biggest challenges is getting the header to work, and so you've got an OEM header here, and then you got to make a custom downpipe to mate up to the exhaust. And even then, it's not like you can just make a downpipe for these, because there's a variety of different swaps on the market, and some are adjustable as well. So you were explaining to me that the position of the engine also changes, so therefore you can't have just an off-the-shelf downpipe.
Yeah, so I always wondered why no company ever made an off-the-shelf beam swap header with how popular the swap is. And I realized, right, so we're running one company's mounts, JSP, so JSP engine mounts, and then also the trans mount. The thing is, even if you run JSP mounts, these mounts are adjustable forward, back. Maybe you have taller, shorter engine mounts like the Cusco ones. This all puts the engine in a different spot, and that's only going to mean that the downpipe on the header is going to end up in a different spot. You guys have probably seen in other videos or pictures that the steering shaft goes straight into the headers, which means that clearance is absolutely critical where the placement of the bends are for this guy.
So one exciting thing on the header front is we are working with Surfab. So they're going to have a universal high-rise header for right-hand drive and left-hand drive applications that we'll be stocking here soon. So we got a bunch of those in production. That will definitely allow you to get away from the OEM piece and have something that looks the part and will perform well too. But it's universal because it doesn't terminate. It doesn't go all the way down to the exhaust. You still need to fab up the downpipe part because of those variations as Eco was talking about.
You want to hear a big bummer on this car?
What's that?
You know why there's like a mess of like oddball hoses and like weird connectors back there?
Why's that?
Because we found out the hard way the heater core leaks in this car.
Oh my gosh.
So originally we were trying to retain the factory heater, which we could have, because where the factory heater valve would actually clear the OEM manifold, it gets really tight or with ITBs. Mm-hmm. But we pressure tested the system and we found out the hard way the heater core leaks. So in the interim, again, we were trying to get minimum viable, right? Get this thing running and driving. So we have some connectors for the heater hoses, but once we get the heater core working, this customer will be able to have the factory heater working.
Oh, gotcha. So you're like temporarily bypassing it, right?
Yeah, temp.
Yeah. Do you know if John's planning on doing ITVs later? Or?
He says his wallet has to recover first.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Very understandable.
Yeah, many hours have gone into this project. I've seen this car here for a long time. Usually cars don't stay here this long, but...
Give me some credit. This thing got done pretty fast.
Oh, no, for sure. I'm not taking that away from you. I'm just saying it was a lot of work, right? There's a lot of work going into this. Yeah, anyways, surprising for me because I haven't... I've started a couple... Yeah, this will be the third beams I've started on the standalone. I haven't actually seen the entire swap go, in like blow by blow. And it was pretty surprising that how complicated this swap still is, and you definitely still need to do your research. Like if you just took this car and dropped off at maybe a performance shop that didn't specialize in these cars, they'd probably have a pretty hard time, I would think. There's a lot of custom stuff.
Yeah, I totally took for granted. I definitely assumed that this was going to be drop-in by the amount of support. But I think as you've popped into the shop, I've had to tell you like, hey, there's no solution for this, or hey, I can't figure this out. Yeah. And how many dozens and dozens of times has that happened where we've had to kind of either do research, find out no one's done it, or like innovate our own solutions. Definitely still a swap that requires a ton of custom work and fabrication still.
But that's it's good as popular because there's enough people doing these swaps that either Battle Garage or other companies will continue to improve the parts that are offered to make the swap easier and easier.
Anything else that surprises you out here? Anything else notable? Any suggestions?
I don't know if this is working on camera, but I did notice this is a G1 generation beams. My understanding is that you want to try and get the latest number that you can. So if I had my pick, I would try to find a G3 engine. They're just supposed to have like some of the latest stuff on the internals. I think sometimes there were some people who are saying the valve sizes can be different sometimes, and the lifter bucket could be different. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what's on that, but
We were talking about buying a beams, and then I gave you a link to an automatic one, and then what were you telling me about the automatic versions?
yeah, I mean it's well known that the automatic has smaller valves, so like you definitely want a manual transmission one.
Well known, but I didn't know.
Okay. All right, well.
So we should have got a handful of parts from Battle Garage on here. I know the 90-degree PCV, I didn't know why it was so special. I realized you only need that 90-degree PCV adapter if you're running ITBs. What other Battle Garage goodies do we have on here? Oh, I talked about this last time, but this is actually one of my favorite pieces. I think this sticker, believe it or not, adds a lot to the engine bay.
It definitely, yeah, it definitely helps to clean things up for sure.
I've had plenty of cars, including this one, where this sticker was missing.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to guess when you're on the side of the road.
Did you get maintenance parts for this thing, like timing belt stuff? And
I did. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So from you before on another customer car, full OEM beams engine gasket kit. I believe we got timing belt, tensioner, a handful of seals. Oh, yeah, this PCV seal was for sure from you guys. This guy was rotted out.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to stock all the major components, especially the maintenance, kits, because I think if you're importing a Japanese imported engine, you don't know how long the timing belt's been on there, or how long the timing belt tensioner bearing hasn't moved, while it's been like being transported from Asia. If there are things that people are looking for that we don't have on the site, please drop us a line. We are trying to add more and more stuff for the beams offerings.
While you mentioned that you guys aren't going to be able to see it, we also got the SQ Slimline Waterline kit, and or I should say rear head adapter. And if you guys can see how close that clearance is, we actually have the JSP mount so that this engine sits as far back as possible, and I still have clearance with that Slimline adapter back there.
I know John's kind of bolting it up to the existing exhaust, which is a little bit small, but when you are putting in beams in, this engine's going to flow a lot more air than a 4AG pretty much ever will, unless it's like very special, like house grind or something. But yeah, you should try to couple this up with at least a 2.5 inch exhaust. It's going to restrict it otherwise. So there's not a whole lot of options right now. The one that we deal with is the Martellius catback.
HO. High output.
The high output catback. Yeah, that's right. There's more. We've got a few. That one's all stainless steel. I have it on my race car as well. I like it quite a bit. But yeah, definitely something to pay attention to if you're doing the swap.
You know why this car does not have a HO on it? Because they sold out too fast. I told you, John. I told you to get it because they sell out.
Yeah, it's been a hot ticket, and Martellius is not a very big company. I remember they told me one time, they're like, "Hey, I'm sorry, we can't get these headers done. Our welder broke his arm doing karate, so he's gonna be out for 3 weeks." And I was like, "Oh man." Yeah. Aside from that, I mean, I'm really glad it's running and driving. I'm sure it's gonna have a ton of torque, just bags of torque, especially with the standalone, compared to the 4G that was in there before. But yeah, I'm sure John's gonna really enjoy this, and I hope as Walt does recover, he can come back in here for some ITB swap. And I'd love to get my hands onto the laptop and help him get that thing running too.
One thing I talked about, although we may be able to get this sorted, now we need to get the rest of the car sorted to match this engine. And I mentioned that because he's still running a 4.7 back there.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, 4.7, and then yeah, look, it's always the small stuff, right? Like heater valve, get the heater core to work again. There's a new faceplate sticker that every Corolla needs. Getting this sorted is only half the battle. The rest of the car got to match too.
John's very enthusiastic, and he's down to get quality parts. So I'm sure we'll see this thing progress over time. Definitely looking forward to seeing this car come back.
I guess you're way too tall
can
for
I show off the DG jacket?
Oh yeah. No, this is my video. What are you talking about? Show off the jacket. I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
It's a very nice jacket.
I definitely want to plug this because we never got proper photos of this jacket onto the store because we've been really busy. But check out the back, dude. This design is my friend Rocky. He created this design a long time ago, and we never got to release it on anything. And we wanted some windbreakers, and so we dug it up and I made this jacket, and I'm really happy we did that.
You got some on your head too. What is this?
Oh yeah, the BG caps, yeah. That's right, yeah, this isn't on the store at all yet, but it will be soon, you guys.
Limited quantities, you guys gotta buy right now.
They can't, it's not on the store yet, but at some point we'll get on there.
Well, as per usual, it's very late at the shop, but I really appreciate you staying this late. Pretty much, well, not pretty much, actually doing this to me as a big favor. So yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate it again.
Dude, you're totally welcome, man. You helped me out a ton, so happy to return the favor, man.
So yeah, official, it runs, starts, drives. The next step, I believe, is to take this over to the tuner. I think it still needs a catback, actually, so we might actually film a little bit of that. We're gonna get a catback from Battle Garage. But yeah, once again, appreciate all the support so far, you guys. Make sure to check out the new BG windbreaker and the new BG hat, although you gotta get it on the website first. Email support and bug them.
Yeah, we can hook you up. If someone emails us and asks us for a cap, we can make it happen. Thanks for tuning in on this adventure with the beams. It's getting really close. Can't wait to see it dialed in and
doing skids, mad skids.
Yeah. Hopefully we can follow this up with some footage from John doing some massive skids.
All right, stay tuned for updates. Catch you guys next time.
See you guys later.
All right, bonus round. So the owner special requested we weigh this car. So why don't we see how much it weighs? 2340. Full beam swap, factory GTS rear end. It's gutted interior. You guys have probably seen, and it's got a really nice welded in cage. So that's gonna add some weight, but that the safety penalty is worth the weight, or I should say the weight penalty is worth the safety.